Okay, having a Fischer random now game, consultation. Jake 57689. I'm just going to change the topic. Jake 57689. 7689. Okay. In fact, I got the time wrong. So that's 15:55. Okay. So 15:55. Let's have a fish around, a bit of ventilation against potential engine spewers if that does exist as a risk, which I hope it doesn't. So I'm just going to play my first move. Let's play e4. I'm not losing anything to any bishops or anything. These bishops rain these guys on a2 and b2. So fish around them. No spectators. Okay. No one else. Okay. So actually, I have been okay on Fischer random on chess cube, just using exactly the same principles from normal chess: strategic rush, positional sacrifices. It's just chess with just weird casting rules, basically. So here I could play d3 and knight e3. How would I castle kingside? I'd have to move these bishops, I think. Or can I castle now? No, I don't think I can castle now. So d3 maybe, just to protect e4. So I don't know if there's been many Fischer random or chess 960 consultation games. I think people say chess 960 if they don't particularly want to say about Fischer because of Fischer's controversies, which is a bit of a shame. I think he did massively popularise the idea, the Fischer random start positions. So it means, I mean, it's got various implications. People can't just you know, create games in advance which they could play out and maybe like agree a draw or something. Things like that can't be done. There'll be less emphasis on mainline opening theory, memorising things like parrots. So that strips away that idea as well. There'll be more creativity, I think. Centralising a knight, good. So knight d4, f4. Should I be worried? I don't know. I'm going to keep this magic knight in the centre, protecting these two guys. Knight d4's again prophylaxis, I guess. Centralising is like prophylaxis is against knight f4 and knight d4. Knight e3 is a defensive measure. I've got my bishops over here. These bishops are over here. So we've got symmetrical bishops over here. Of course, we've got the same position on both sides. Just so basically, the queen sides could be under fire here from the X-ray bishops, from the blaze of the bishops. But with the pawn blocked here, okay, I think symmetrical variation. I think g3 is a good move. Otherwise, how is this bishop? I don't want to be a parrot here to recite the opponent's thing. But g3 I agree with because the h1 bishop on this diagonal. So I've got a bind on d5, I don't know, f5 or f4. Both plans good here. I don't know. F5, yeah, that is playable from black here. So should I have played f4? Takes on b2. Queen's, don't know, going to be useful coming back to a dark square at some point. Or c6. Or knight c6 to d4. Okay, this diagonal could be good for a pin on e6. Maybe bishop g2. Or, I don't know, against f5 takes and bishop h3 again, the pin. Okay, I'm convinced. Bishop g2. If I can play bishop h3 and f4 maybe. I don't know about c4. I don't want to permanently weaken d4. Something like maybe knight d2 is less committal. In fact, that c pawn's blocked, which means a knight on d5 is going to be more comfortably placed now. So I'm looking forward to knight d5s now. I can keep a guard of d4 with this c3 pawn. So it's a bit less optimal for this knight to be placed on c3, but the knight can be rerouted maybe to c4, maybe with a4 later, a4, knight a3 to c4, and keep an eye with knight d5. These knights will be pretty on c4 and d5. This bishop maybe wants to go there, this pawn wants to play like f4. Maybe I want to castle queenside, so something like queen c2, knight d2, and then plonk the king over the rook to castle queenside. Okay. Okay, so I want to get a nice knight on d5, but there's always knight e7. There isn't knight f6. The bishop's covering it. So we're back to this plan and casting queenside. I think I just want to connect up these rooks, then give them later the chance to blast through the files. But first is connecting them up, or is it? There's no, apart from f5, there's no serious break. d5 is restrained, but f5 it isn't. Maybe bishop h3, but then I'm blocking the h pawn. Maybe the h4 is useful against g5. Be able to play bishop h3, maybe bishop h2 next. Because actually that bishop on the diagonal might be useful. On the other end here it's also potentially useful, but I like the knight on e3. So maybe h4, bishop h3, bishop h2. That would restrain the pin if, you know, queen d8. I don't know about bishop e6s though, giving up. Oh, okay. So f4 is coming in with vengeance, but do I worry about f3? Releases the pressure. Always bishop h3. Maybe I give my bishop h3 here if I play h4. I think I'll do that. f4, knight d5, f3, bishop h3. Keep the bishop locked in. If I take, I'm liberating potentially this bishop for e4s later. If the pawn's there, it's locking in the bishop. So f4, okay, it's threatening, but knight d5. f3, bishop h3. Looks alright. By the way, another, I think, benefit for Fischer and for online chess, especially speed chess or whatever, I think it's more difficult for anyone who wants to try and cheat. They'd have to know a lot more about how to cheat, I think. Like, they'd have to put the whole position in if they didn't know how to do that, or hopefully it's another barrier, just an extra barrier to cheating. Of course it is possible to cheat, but then the Fischer random castling rules would need to be programmed in as well into whatever they're using. They'd have to so hopefully it's another insulating layer. Once I castle queenside, people that just want to speak out moves without any explanations, or someone, I don't know, was just saying, oh, I have an explanation, it's move X because of move Y. You know, which of course is possible, but it's not really very human, is it, to say I'm playing this move because of this move? Not like, here, what, you know, what's the compensation, what's the position of compensation, what's the verbiage, the verbal reasoning. Without verbal reasoning, I hope that the team can be a bit cynical of that someone is saying, you know, play this because of this. You know, it's a bit if-then-ish. You know. But anyway, so f3, I think bishop h3, because, you know, I'm pinning the knight. The tension's been reduced. This bishop still maintains as a block. Mind you, bishop h6 now. So maybe I need to play g4 to be able to answer bishop h6 with g5, and I'll still be on the diagonal with bishop h3. So g4, I don't know, looks alright. g4, I'm going to play g4. So f3, I don't know, bishop h3. Mind you, there's knight f4, takes, rook f4, I don't know, bishop h2 to evict the rook if the rook comes over there. All black could get the use of e5 here. So I could be in trouble here, I guess. Hang on, f3, bishop h3. So if I'm not given the chance for g5, then knight f4 immediately, attacking the bishop. Ouch. So do I actually want to play bishop h1 here? Keep the bishop blocked in, but f3 is attacked. But then g4 is a bit weak. Oh dear. So have I blundered? Probably I have. If I could get in f3 here to stop f3, I think that would have been that would be good here, because then g5 bishop h3. The bishop is also develops just naturally on that diagonal. But f3, bishop h3, knight f4, knight takes f4, rook takes f4, bishop h2, rook moves back. Do I worry? If I can get in knight d2, that also stops f3, or it'll be a cost of a pawn. Still potential for knight f4 as a positional sack to get the e5 square. If I take, then takes, then black gets the e5 square, but that doesn't seem too major. So maybe knight d2 will do the same here. I don't need to block in this bishop. Or I can just play bishop f3. Then maybe g5 and bishop g4 later. Okay, this pawn's now attacked. Bishop d5 is also a threat. So I think maybe queen c2. I hope. Queen c2 doesn't fail tactically. Oh, it does. I've just given up g4. Whoops. I've just blundered a pawn. Oh dear. But queen g4. Oh no, I've just blundered 2 pawns. And this is knight takes c7. There's knight takes c7. No panic. Taking a rook. There's f3 first. And then queen h4, bishop f2. I've just blundered. Ouch. Queen g4. f3, queen h4, bishop f2. Well, I wanted to play f3 anyway. I'm just losing both these pawns. Oh well. So the queen goes there. Maybe queen h2 after, so I'm still being attacked. Oh dear. Ouch. Actually, maybe there's bishop c5 though and knight c7 there. So queen g4, f3, queen h4, bishop f2, queen h2. We have bishop c5 here. Takes, then knight c7. So I'm not sure the queen can be that carnivorous to take both these pawns. If it goes back after f3, well, I've developed this bishop. I can play knight d2. Can take on c5 at some point. Can try and castle queenside. Can try and maybe play for d4. Try and open up position against the king, which is still in the centre. So maybe this queen g4 isn't so bad. Why did I play this move without... I just dropped a pawn. So that was that queen on c8. You don't expect these things. Normal chess that a knight move so early on just opens up the queen as well. It's a blunder, really. Ah, okay. That's a recapture. After all that... non-ergonomic really, because all of that analysis is just, I don't know if it's mostly wasted, but means I'm more exhausted now than before that. But bishop f3 here, I think, just to protect g4, I hope. But I'm shutting in this bishop. That's the downside. Maybe later it can, I don't know, whoops, bishop d1, f3. It's either one bishop or the other here, isn't it? It's an on-off switch. You need to turn one bishop off and turn off the other at the same time. Is that knight d2 to e4? Knight d2 to e4, knight d2 to c4. Knight d2. I think e4 is becoming a major break here for black, but the rooks are not in place to exploit such a break. So knight d2 anyway. Prophylaxis. Maybe c4. I don't want to weaken d4, and this it's not really again exploitable at the moment. d4 if I did play c4. So I'm conserving energy now. Let's just wait until the next move to get the position. But strategically, what's happening here? Are they going to castle? Both sides going to castle queenside? What strategic breaks then, pawn breaks, would be available? I think I have to blockade e4. That's my square to blockade, but without losing d5. So I guess if c4 is possible without a knight moving to d4, knight e6 to d4 is unplayable because of that pawn. So c4, knight e4. But then knight e4, d takes would need to be played. Need to protect the pawn, need to reroute the bishop to h3 later. Okay, both castle. There's queen a4 here, there's queen b5, tactical move, queen a4. I wouldn't mind the queens coming off. And b4 to evict the knight. I don't know, knight a4, queen b3 maybe. e4, hitting c3 though. So I think this e4 needs to be blockaded, prophylaxis. But then knight c5, so c4 again comes into it. I think I'm going to play c4. Then knight e4. Then maybe consider b4. Oh, this dead bishop is terrible. They haven't got any bad bishop problem. I've got a bad bishop problem. It's bishop on g1. Bishop on g1. And I've got the double pawns, of course. And okay, I can play g5 here with tempo. I want to play bishop g4 later anyway. And kick this guy and play knight e4. Then maybe queen e2 and bishop g4. Starting to look a bit rosier, I think. If I can get in a big knight on e4, that knight's pretty good in the centre. Jammed in the centre. Then if I get the bishop to g4, I can play f3. This bishop will be on that diagonal. e7, that would be a good target. But also, knight on e4 would stop e4, so prophylaxis and attack and centralisation. And also maybe even c5 will be on the cards later. But at the moment, I don't know, it's a3. I hope a3 is playable without e4 as a break. Can't see. I'm going to have to play this. Because the queen is protecting against queen a4s. Mind you, there's c6. Could be embarrassing when it takes knight c6, b5. So I just want to get in knight e4 next. Oh, d4 is... Oh, losing an h4 pawn. Whoops. Okay, so knight b3, I'm losing h4. Oh well, I think I have to play it. Knight b3, knight h4, bishop e4 at least. Bishop's in the centre at least. I can still play f3, I can still liberate this bishop on a7. Then maybe queen f2 later. If b6, then maybe aim for a c5 break. Maybe king b1, rook c1, c5. So basically in that position, this bishop's going to be activated. This rook's going to be activated on the c file. This pawn chain's going to be undermined. a7's going to be more vulnerable. So knight h4, bishop e4 with that plan. King b1, rook c1, f3, c5. That'll get everything going, I think. Whoops. Okay, if king b2, there's e4. Ah, it's looking painful. I think queen a2 is almost forced to knight b4. Oh dear. That's not a move I considered. Ouch. Queen b2, e4. Maybe I've got queen. I haven't got queen g7. I'm in trouble here. a3 is a bit loose. Queen a2, there's knight b4. Queen b2, there's e4. Oh, b5, I'm going to have to think. Oh, I think I've had it. Queen b4. Second piece. e4, d4, e takes f3. Just the whole piece down. Nothing. I could play bishop e4 just to shut in the bishop and lose 2 pawns. I think I'll do that. So queen a3, queen b2. I don't know, there's 2 pawns, but maybe I'll get in rook e1 and f3 still. And the third pawn over here, it's not too good. I'll try and win in time pressure. So queen a3, queen b2. Queens could come off, knight b4 could happen, but then there's f3. So if knight h4, maybe there's rook a1 with a bit of pressure, I hope. At least this bishop's not being activated on the diagonal. So I seem to have lots of tactical liabilities here after this overly ambitious queenside expansion. Whoops. Losing both pawns. Not good. So, plan though, to play f3, to play rook a1, maybe to double on the a file, rook a4, the other run to a1, and try and win in time trouble. Okay. So I'm going to be 3 pawns down here, which has happened in the previous game, and I did manage to win a previous game being 3 pawns down. It's quite dramatic. So here it's also going to be dramatic. So what the key kind of trump cards, the bishop's still blocked in. This bishop's going to be good on a7. Basically the a file on a7 I think is my major point of compensation if there's any compensation here. So I'll lose this other pawn. I've opened up the bishop. Bishop's protecting d3, which means I can play actually rook a1. Maybe there's even knight a5s later. And double up rooks on the a file. Then knight a5, maybe knight takes b7, king takes rook. Something like rook a6. Imagine if the knight wasn't there, that would be dangerous. So I think I'm going to go for that. h4 is going to drop as well, of course. Yep. Anything else to think about here? I suppose there's also potentials for c5, but at the moment d5 is loose. Looking at 3 pawns down after knight h4, so rook a1 with some optimism, probably completely unfounded optimism. No, but there isn't too much defensive pieces around the king. The king is a target over there. It should be easy to plan, and knight g2, this could be annoying. If I can get him rook a4, there's a quick battery on the a file anyway. With rook a4 and rook a1. Oh no, there's knight d3 here. Bishop d3, e4 check. Whoops. My king shouldn't be on that diagonal. Oh dear. 4th pawn bites the dust. Knight d3, maybe king c3. Where's the knight going? It goes to c5. I can get it back, knight c5. Maybe it's not so bad, knight d3 at the moment. Maybe king c3 will be a good idea here. If knight a6, maybe rook a6, and then knight a5 to c6. That would be nice. In fact, king c3 here, there's a5, then maybe knight a5, and takes, king's attacking the knight, carnivorous king. I'll go for it. Carnivorous king here, try and win that knight on. b4. So a5, knight a5. Takes rook a5. Still threatening king b4. Without any knight d3 now because there's king d3. Don't have to play bishop d3. This looks good because also the b rook, b file. So a5, knight takes a5. Bishop's good. Okay. Interesting. Carnivorous king. Getting both my pawns back, just a piece down now. But where's the knight going? Also, I've got another threat. I've got rook b1 as a threat. I've got rook a1 as a threat. Bishop and two rooks coordinating. No knight d3s, king d3. No knight d5. Just pawn takes or rook takes or anything really. This is not bad. So, pawn situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm actually pawn down still, and also a piece down. Pawn and a piece down here. Okay. On the bright side of things, the dynamist will look at the scope of pieces, how good pieces are, how good the centre is, how good the king compensation is. I'm getting a piece back anyway. So bishop d5 threatens like rook a8 mating. If e4, maybe just d4, still threatening to mate. I think I don't want to close up the bishop, so I think I want to allow e4 check. d4, threatening mate. c6, say. Then there might be rook fb1 check. King c7, there's rook a7 check. That looks pretty dangerous. I'm going to do it. Allow e4 check. Also there's bishop d4 if I want to just exchange off that dangerous bishop. So say takes, because the bishop then will be unprotected after bishop d4. It's not protected by anything. So say takes, king takes, I'm threatening rook a8 mate. Say c6, rook fb1 check. That looks incredibly dangerous for black, that position. Unless f3's liability here after e4. It's not really, not yet. Okay, there's still. Okay, can I get the other rook in? And there's bishop e6 as well. So rook fb1, king c7. There's rook a7. So that's almost like mating. Because where's the king escaping to? If king c8, there's bishop e6, and also bishop can come to b6 as well. These bishops are working well. Whoa, they resigned. Blimey. Blimey, that is a turn up for the books. Just losing 2 pawns here. Blimey. Ugh. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.